Hey guys, welcome to episode number 61 of Rush Roundtable. On this episode, we're talking about songs that Rush could have done if they ever were given the opportunity to play a Super Bowl halftime show. With the Super Bowl coming up this Sunday, we thought this would be a nice change of pace idea. We are given 15 or so minutes. We can come up with any songs that we choose for our set list. Thanks to our pal Nick for coming up with this idea, and we hope that you enjoy. All right, everybody, we got a really fun episode on tap for today. This is going to be with the Super Bowl coming up this weekend, Chiefs and Buccaneers. We decided to put together a hypothetical set list if Rush, of course this would probably never happen, but if Rush were to have ever played the halftime show of the Super Bowl. So before we get into that, we have one new guest to introduce himself tonight. We have Will, so go ahead.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for inviting me. My first tour I ever saw with Rush was the Roll the Bones tour. I was all of 18, and I went to the Shoreline Amphitheater, and they came over twice in the Bay Area. Shoreline Amphitheater in the summer, and then before that, they were at the Oakland Coliseum. So that was my first Rush tour. First album that I got into was Power Windows. It was introduced to me by an older cousin who I only saw 2 or 3 times, including that introduction. So it goes to show you what kind of impression the older cousin could make. But yeah, Power Windows was the first album that got me hooked. Then, of course, I reverse engineered and worked my way back and indulged in all the albums previous. And I've been a fan ever since. R30, I turned 30 and went to Europe and saw their European leg. Had a blast. And just honored to be amongst you gentlemen here, Rush Brothers.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you.
So R30 was recorded in somewhere in Europe, right?
Yeah, I have.
Were you there?
But I was all the way in the back.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious if you were there. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes. The previous
Frankfurt, Germany, I think is where it was.
Yeah,
right?
it was in Germany. Yeah. Then they were in the Ahoy Sports Palace in Stockholm, Sweden. I was front row on that one, but of course they don't film that one.
Yeah,
but I did get Alex's pick after Xanadu. Gave me the blue pick with the R30 in the back, and I stuck that straight in my mouth because I felt a whole rush of people coming over that, reaching over me. And I'm a short guy, man. I'm only 5'4". So I felt people reaching over me out over my shoulders. I was like, that's going right in the mouth. That's it.
Right in the mouth. That's great. All right. So that's awesome. So we're glad to have you, man. Thank you for joining us. So we decided to switch it up a little bit. On this episode, we generally do a song we're currently hooked on or a song that we want to give a shout out to that's a deeper track. We decided to give it a turn because it's a football themed episode.
Yes.
We're all going to tell you our favorite team or the team or the jersey we're wearing or whatever, and give you a Rush song that perhaps describes that team's season for this past football season. So we'll go ahead.
Okay, as said earlier, I think I'm going bald to commemorate the 49ers season of this year, dating back to the fourth quarter debacle from last year's Super Bowl. Because that's exactly what it did. If I had hair, it would have been all gone. I think I'm going bald.
Awesome, Matt.
So yeah, I am supporting my Patriots, of course, as always. Probably gonna get a lot of hate in the comments for that one, but I don't really care. The song that I'm going to pick to describe the first Patriots season without Tom Brady is Rivendell, because man, was it slow. Man, was it repetitive. Man, was it really hard to just stay in there and finish watching and finish listening sometimes. There were some beautiful moments. There really were. But overall, it was
Cam Newton's 4 touchdowns passing? Okay.
Well, you know... There were some moments there where, you know, Belichick had the defense going. Cam was doing his thing, running the ball, but overall it was pretty slow and painful. So
Rivendell because it's slow and painful. Because they put you to sleep this season. Okay, Zach, go ahead.
I'm doing Tampa Buccaneers now. Do Force 10 because it's my new favorite song. and it like gets you hyped up, I guess, if you don't know what I mean, with the intro.
Okay, awesome. Steve.
All right, I'm a San Diego / Los Angeles Chargers fan, and the song I'll pick is Turn the Page, because the Chargers choke pretty much every game, and I'm just going to turn the page. That's it. Next year.
That's great. All right, so I am a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan, as you can tell from my currently building jersey wall that I got going. So yeah, the song that I'm gonna go with is Marathon, because you can do a lot in a lifetime if you don't burn out too fast, and we went 11-0 and then we burn out really fast and lost in the playoffs. I shouldn't be laughing, but it was embarrassing. So yeah, Marathon, describing the Steelers season. All right, Eric.
All right, so I'm a Packers fan. Go Pack Go. Very fond memories of Super Bowl 45 when the Packers whipped up on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Awesome game. The song I am going to go with is Losing It. And the song is all about something you're so good at for so long, and then before you know it, you're not the same. And for 2 seasons in a row, the Packers have gone 13-3, have killed the regular season, and then in the NFC Championship game in both years, they're just not so good at football anymore. So I'm going with Losing It.
Well, I think Nick was going to go with the same thing as is. That was the song that I was going to choose, but figured you would choose it. So you're up.
Not only did you steal Super Bowl 45 from us, but then you steal my song to describe my favorite player of all time fading and going away, which is very sad, just like Losing It. So instead, I'll switch it up and go with The Garden, because it's also sad. And also the lyrics about earning love and respect. Juju and Chase Claypool seem to not care about that, and I wish they would listen to The Garden, try that. TikTok sucks. So yeah, so to Corvette. Rush is better.
Oh.
You can tell we all really believe in our team.
We have to, yeah, we gotta, all right. Cool. So, why we're all here is to discuss a hypothetical scenario that Rush plays the Super Bowl halftime show. A Canadian band playing America's biggest game. Yeah, I think as Rush fans, we would all rejoice if this ever happened. It would be totally awesome. I don't think it would ever happen, but we can dream. So we've all come up with a set or a number of songs. We said about 15-ish minutes for the time that you were allotted. I mean, Rush probably wouldn't care and would just go on and on and on, because that's how they are. If they actually did it, just forget about the time, just go 20 minutes, 25 minutes, because they don't seem to care what the record label thinks or what anyone else thinks. They do it their way. But yeah, so another thing we wanted to do was not only describe or not only give you a set and the set as to what songs they would play, but perhaps if there was pyro or fireworks or stage props, whatever. So let's get to it. Will, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, I'll just go with going with the Super Bowl theme, 55, Superconductor, The Larger Bowl, and then Chemistry, which is the 55th song, starting from the first album. And then whatever time's left over, I think it's maybe 2 minutes tops, we'll do Neil's drum kick to a one little victory.
Okay.
That'll be good for me.
All right. Awesome. Matt, what do you think?
I was working off the same logic there, Will. I'm going to have them open with One Little Victory, the same way that I saw it live on the Snakes and Arrows tour when it blew my mind. Same way they did it on Vapor Trail's tour in Rush and Rio. I'm talking, I want the dragon on the big screen. You could even reanimate the dragon to be like, welcome to the Super Bowl or something. You know, dragon does something with a football. You can make your own animation. Then it comes into the fire and Neil in all of his glory. And plus, it's the closest song in my mind that I could think of that they have that would be applicable to like a sporting event. Another chance at victory, another chance to score, that kind of thing. So we go from that. Now I'm trying to keep this all high energy songs. And I had a sort of personal challenge for me not to touch moving pictures. So I haven't done that. And I have them going into The Weapon as they did it on the Grace Under Pressure tour with the Count Floyd intro. And you can have some creepy football 3D animations. You know, again, the technology's fantastic. They brought Prince back from the dead a couple years ago in the Super Bowl. They can animate some crazy footballs for Count Floyd to narrate to as they play The Weapon, my second choice. Then they have to close it all out, in my opinion, with The Spirit of Radio, simply because I don't think it would be possible physically for them to not do a song that most people in the audience would know. And it's just a kick-ass song. I mean, they all go off, and it would be the perfect send-off for them, and it leaves us right at 16 minutes. And, you know, you could have the usual pyro display at the end of any Super Bowl halftime show. But I tried my best to keep my special effects as unique to Rush as possible without going too overboard. So, yeah, those are my three.
Okay, cool. I like it. I love the weapon, the addition of the weapon. I mean, that'd be pretty... You could have, like, Tom Brady doing Count Floyd.
Exactly. My other reasoning for putting the weapon in too is because it kind of, not to sound like I'm, you know, on my town crier box or trying to pontificate here, it kind of goes to the nature of football itself. You know, I really wanted to have one of the Fear trilogy in there, because football is a lot of times a very violent, you know, sort of, you know, intense game. So I wanted to have a sort of violent, intense song in there. So the weapon seemed perfect.
Sure. Zach?
Okay, so for opening, I would do Mission with the children's choir, do the opening of the, you know, the opening when Getty sings really beautifully. And then after I would do Spirit of Radio, then fireworks come out and the band just like goes in and then they play. And then after I would do Roll the Bones, and you know R40 when Paul Rudd and Jason Segel were on the screen? We could do football players instead. And then they'll close it with Tom Sawyer because everyone loves that song.
Perfect.
All right, Steve.
So I had a different approach with this. I was picturing what would Rush do if they were doing the halftime show? What would they pick? So I chose the songs that I thought Rush would pick. My opening song is The Spirit of Radio. It's an iconic Rush song. You can get some audience participation in there. Invisible airwaves crackle with life. Getty does the hand thing. The whole crowd goes crazy, does the hands. And 70,000 people doing that would be just kind of cool. When Getty says concert hall, the lights go up.
What do they call that?
I don't know. Just Getty's hand thing. That's what we call it.
I thought they called it. I thought they called it like the chicken hands or something like that. Because didn't the chicken come out and do that? I thought that's what. Maybe I'm wrong, but all right, that'd be cool though.
Yeah, but I just think that would be a great way to open the set. And then the second song in the set would be Closer to the Heart, because we need a short song in there because we got 13, 15 minutes, something like that. And then another iconic Rush song. You could spotlight on Alex at the beginning with the acoustic guitar, and then hand out little lights to the crowd. Bring the lights down, and just like you would see the lighters at the old concerts, you'd see the lights at the Super Bowl. Everybody's got their lights. Alex is playing. It's beautiful. And of course, another iconic Rush song that the crowd's going to get into. And then song 3, like Zach, I'm picking Tom Sawyer. You have to pick Tom Sawyer. Rush has got to play Tom Sawyer, and it's a great ending. and we could throw a Neil drum solo in there to space it out. 15 minutes, fireworks, crowd goes wild. Perfect.
Awesome, I like it. So I chose, to Matt's point, One Little Victory is going to start mine, but it's going to be only about 2 minutes and 15 seconds of One Little Victory, which gets through one iteration of the chorus to save some time because the song is super long, and it gets the point across. So lots of pyro, lots of fireworks for One Little Victory. Next is Tom Sawyer. I think this allows people to kind of enjoy Rush at their core. You know, this is their most popular song. People will recognize them for this. Oh, the band that plays Tom Sawyer, right? No pyro, no nothing. Just basically that would be your typical Rush concert type of thing. Next, I went with Roll the Bones, and I went with Roll the Bones, the whole song, but I thought this could be the song that they could really put the performance, the whole thing on, right? So you got crazy videos, you got all sorts of props that you could pull out, and to Zach's point, you could do the Roll the Bones rap, and I wasn't thinking with players, I was thinking with, this year it's on CBS, so I was thinking Jim Nantz, Tony Romo, Tracy Wolfson doing the Roll the Bones rap, and their heads going back and forth through the, like kind of bobbing around. And then lastly, finish off with another hit from Moving Pictures. That's Limelight. This again would be Rush at their core, another, like standard Rush concert performance, but you could kind of do like a light show type of thing during this. You could literally have the limelight on Alex during the guitar solo, and that iconic guitar solo being played in a football stadium, I think would be absolutely fantastic. Maybe a few props, but that would really be Rush at their core, and that would be it. So that totals in a little over 16 minutes for me. So yeah, that's my halftime performance. Eric?
Yeah, and I really like that Roll the Bones idea that you and Zach had with having all the NFL players, the CBS commentators rapping to that Roll the Bones rap. That would be pretty funny. But for me, I had the goal in mind of, the Super Bowl is the most watched event on TV worldwide, I'm pretty sure. And so these are the 3 songs I would have Rush play to show people that, wow, this is a band that I can get into that I either hadn't heard of or hadn't given a shot. So I stuck with some pretty stereotypical Rush songs, I guess you could say. So I started off with The Spirit of Radio, which, a few of us have already mentioned. It's a great way to get the crowd involved. It's high energy, all that stuff. You can throw in some pyro there, especially when, they come up with Concert Hall. And then moving into Time Stand Still, which is, a little bit of a change of pace, a little bit slower, but still showing, Rush is a band that has many different flavors, many different tastes. And with this, I was thinking you could throw in the laser light show that they had going on during Jacob's Ladder in R40, and just having it go out from like the stage in the center of the field and shooting out all around the stadium. I think that would go pretty well with Time Stand Still. I think it would look really cool as well in a big stadium like that. And then finally, and I was thinking Right to Time Machine for this one because I think it would be really awesome. Once Time Stand Still finishes, all the lights cut off, the whole stadium is silent, no lights on or anything, and then you just hear Neil come in with the ba-dum, 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 ba-dum to the Working Man encore with the reggae intro. And they slowly start building up through that reggae intro, and then they finally kick in with, going back to the hard blues rock of Working Man, playing all the way through that great solo he does on Time Machine. And I think on this, now that you've given the media the time to, 10 or 15 minutes or so to get all their highlights together, while they're going through the solo, you can play probably, a minute and a half or 2 minutes of the first half Super Bowl highlights. I think that would be pretty cool. So that's what I'm going with.
So I do have a question.
All right.
You mentioned Time Stand Still. So Amy Mann is on that. Would you bring in I don't know, whoever, a big pop star of today, like, would you bring in for that, or would you just have it
No.
be like? You wouldn't-
Unless it was Amy Mann herself.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Fair enough. Okay. Cool. Nick.
So this thing was my idea, and I'm gonna start off by saying that we're going over 15 minutes, just like every other Super Bowl halftime show, which on average, according to Sports Illustrated, is 20 to 30 minutes long. So we're starting out with Paul Rudd and the other guy, and they're coming into the stadium, and they're all excited, like, man, how did you get these tickets? This is sweet. Can you believe Rush is playing at halftime? I know, right? Who would have thought Canadians would play at halftime? Funny stuff. Everyone laughs. Then they get all pumped up and they're like, all right, Rudd, they do their thing, whatever. Okay. And then the lights are out and you just hear the sonic alien noise from the start of 2112. And there's just lights and stars all over Raymond James Stadium where it's being played this year. And then it starts, and then when the first notes hits, there's Getty, Alex, and Neil by themselves on the stage, just the three of them in the center at the 50-yard line. And they play the overture to 2112. And, when they go into Alex's, solo, the lights come up real bright and it's just, Alex playing the solo, just like at Rio or R30. And so then after that, they go into the Temples of Syrinx. They play that. They get done. They go into Tom Sawyer. They play an abbreviated version of Tom Sawyer. They have to play Tom Sawyer because of the Super Bowl. You have 100 million people around the world watching, and I guarantee you like 98% of them probably don't listen to Rush on a regular basis. So you have to go with songs that everybody kind of knows from the radio. But you're playing an abbreviated version of Tom Sawyer. You're basically cutting out the second verse so that you can get through it. Because then you're going into YYZ, and the Clockwork Angel String Ensemble is coming out with them and playing with them. And I can just envision when they go into the synth part, when Neil tosses his drumstick up in the air, the lights change and the lasers come out, and you get this great shot from the blimp. And I always think about this when I'm working out and thinking of the Super Bowl. You just got this great shot of that synth playing, and from the Goodyear blimp coming around the stadium, they pan down, and you see the lasers and the spotlights shooting out from the stadium, rotating as YYZ with the violins and everything are playing. You're just like, holy hell, this is incredible. Pardon my language. And so they finish with YYZ, and they've got just enough time to go into the Spirit of Radio. They skip the second verse, though, and instead of saying Concert Hall, of course, Getty says Super Bowl, and everyone goes nuts with that. And then they finish that, and of course they finish with Working Man. No reggae intro. It's just heavy like Rio. They finish with Working Man. They skip the first solo. They skip the first solo and second verse to shorten it, and they just play it just like they did at Rio. And at the end, big pyro with the fireworks and everything and all that. And it ends, and Getty says, thank you, everybody. Thank you. Hope to see you again sometime down the road. Bye. They run off the stage, and then Pepsi goes, this has been the Super Bowl halftime show hosted by Pepsi. You get a Pepsi.
So
You didn't really think this out, did you?
Yeah, I actually have multiple sets, but as we went on, I was like, I have to go with the one that gets me the most hyped.
I thought I overthought it a little bit.
But you have to. Here's the thing that everyone kind of is forgetting. It's fun to think about all these different songs that aren't like hits necessarily, or maybe they're lesser hits. But you have to remember that this show is to the, it's to a huge audience. They would kind of have to go with the hits. And when you look at what they've played in the past, you look at them at the Hall of Fame. You look at them when they played at that weird charity concert in Toronto in the early 2000s. And you look at some of their other shorter sets, they've always played basically their hits. So,
do you think, so I was trying to envision all these in my head as you guys were describing them, right? So, and Nick, it brought up, as you were like saying, like how Getty would leave talk to the crowd and leave the stage. The only thing I could think of was, I'm envisioning, have you guys ever heard the video on YouTube where Getty tells the crowd to move back or the stage is going to collapse.
Mhm.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
I'm just envisioning that because the Super Bowl halftime show, everybody pushes up against the stage and like, now granted, you know, it's the Super Bowl stage and I'm sure it probably wouldn't collapse, but I'm just envisioning that as just a mountain of people just surrounding the, you know, pre-COVID, just surrounding the stage. But yeah, real quick before we wrap up completely for this episode, were there any honorable mentions that you guys had, that any songs that you considered that just didn't really make the list? So Zach, your hand went up first. Why don't you go ahead?
I would do the drum solo from R30, and Neil's kit would be full with NFL teams on the kit, like he had the NHL, and he's like
Okay.
Turbica, like his skull cap would be NFL themed. So yeah.
I was just thinking that as you were saying that. that's
Yeah,
a
and he
cool
would do his solo with like the electronic marimba, and then he would be going to the jazz. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then they would play Subdivisions because everyone knows that song, and that's all my honorable mentions.
Cool. Matt, do you have any?
Yeah, the only one that really didn't make the cut for me, and I debated going against my rule that I said earlier and putting Red Barchetta in. And you could have, again, done something really cool with the animation and have, like, you know, that sort of view that they had, the classic projection with the car, just kind of like first person driving on a road. You could have the car, like, you know, start driving onto a football field or something. You could do something like that, but ultimately I just didn't like it as much as the other three, so it didn't make the cut.
Yeah, for me, Red Barchetta crossed my mind too for the imagery and the cool things you could do. I mean, because again, at the end of the day, the Super Bowl halftime show is more of a performance than it is a showcase of musicianship. But another song that crossed my mind was the song that I gave representing the Steelers for the beginning of the season, or for the season was Marathon. I thought that would be a cool one to play for the Super Bowl. I think it could have garnered a reaction for a not so known song. I mean, obviously it's known to Rush fans, but to the outside world, you know. Any? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, I actually thought of this as none of the animations, none of that stuff. It's just you have lights, maybe some fireworks and everything, but you're at an open stadium with no, remember they're playing on the 50-yard line, just on a simple stage on the 50-yard line. And so my thought was this is the perfect opportunity for the boys to showcase just how good they are on all their instruments. And so for me, one of my set lists that I had was, instead of 2112 beginning, I had Spirit leading it off, and I omitted the instrumental intro from Xanadu before Working Man, because I just picture that build up of Alex playing, and then when the first like boom hits and the lights, you know, at R30 when the lights came up, I picture the lights flashing and going up the sides of the stadium, and at one point while it's doing, you know, while there's waves, these lights going up, again the blimp coming through is showing that, and it's just this incredible show while Alex and Getty on their double necks, and then Getty's playing the step thing, and everybody at home would just be watching going, oh, these guys are really good with their instruments. These are musicians. These aren't pop stars dancing around with a bunch of singers and backup crap and lights. These are legitimate musicians. Never seen this. This is kind of cool.
Oh, my bad.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to make a quick snarky comment. I would be so mad. So I would throw something at my TV if they started playing Xanadu and they gave me Working Man instead. But that's just me.
Well, the idea is that they play the Xanadu intro and then they finish with Working Man just because.
You don't understand. I'd be jumping all around my house so happy, and then I'd just go from 100 to 0.
I feel like it would be
lights. It's the idea of the. I just want to see Rush in a stadium. Like, I never got to see them at Heinz Field. You know, we're talking football here. I just want to see Rush at Heinz Field. Like,
sure.
Or Gillette.
I feel like
or
it would be
James.
a total Rush thing to do, to come out and just say screw it and play 2112 from front to back for the whole half of the show.
There you go.
And just walk off. Or you have Alex come out and Alex just rants for like 3 whole minutes about
like blah 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 blah
yeah,
blah.
about football or about how they only got 15 minutes to whatever. I feel like that would be an Alex thing to do. But All right, we'll wrap there. Thanks, guys, for joining us tonight. That was a lot of fun. We hope everyone who watched enjoyed. And feel free to get creative in the comments, because I'm sure there are a lot of other ideas out there that people could come up with for what Rush would have done if they ever had the opportunity to do a halftime show. So thanks again for joining us, guys.
Thanks for
Take
the
care.
warm welcome, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.